the current crisis in Pakistan, facilitated by Asia Europe People's Forum. I am Zagam Abbas. I am the country program manager for Asian People's Movement on Debt and Development. I am currently based in Lahore, Pakistan. For those of you who have followed the situation in Pakistan these last few weeks, you would know that there have been some unprecedented political developments. The arrest of Imran Khan, the country's former prime minister, has triggered unprecedented reaction from his supporters and followers. There have been attacks on military installations. Pakistan's general headquarters was attacked, and the Corps Commander House in Lahore was also vandalized and burned. Many see Imran Khan as a politician who is fighting for civilian supremacy in Pakistan. His critics, however, they argue that Khan is simply trying to get back to the seat of power and has no interest in ensuring civilian supremacy. Khan's critics also argue that it was Imran Khan who started this trend of witch hunting opponents, something that he and his party have been subjected to very recently. While Imran Khan was in power, this is also his critics argue he willfully increased the role of military in civilian affairs. In fact, it was his government that passed a law criminalizing any criticism on armed forces. Today, after his fallout with the military establishment, he and his supporters are being subjected to same kind of law and a treatment. We also see that Imran Khan is hailed as some sort of anti-imperialist by some Western media outlets. How far his politics and persona is democratic and progressive, it needs to be critically evaluated considering the developments in Pakistan that are happening right now. But I think the most important question that we will discuss today is what the future holds for Pakistan, especially to democratic and progressive forces which have been pushed aside. How are we to ensure the rule of law, and how are we to ensure that freedom of expression is respected in the country? We are also hearing that those who are involved in the acts of vandalism a few days ago, they will be tried in military courts. Considering that Pakistan has a checkered history with democracy, it is important to understand how far such developments can dent democracy in the country. So with these, some of these initial thoughts, let me just briefly lay out the format for today's webinar. We will have 20 to 25 minutes of initial thoughts by our speakers, and then we will open the floor for a question-answer session. Our first speaker is Ms. Munize Jhangi. Munize is a renowned Pakistani journalist who hosts a political affairs show on Aaj TV. She has extensive experience in investigative reporting and has worked with some of the renowned media outlets. Today, Munize will talk about militarization of civil society in Pakistan, how Imran Khan and largely the democratic forces in the country have ceded space to the military establishment. Munize, if you can hear me, thank you for joining us, and over to you. The floor is yours.
Well, thank you very much. I think that the video is not coming on for some reason. I think you'll have to allow me to put my video back on so I can join you also.
Yes, we will try to do that, but you're perfectly audible, Munize. If you want to continue, we will work on that.
All right. Well, I mean, thank you for inviting me, and thank you for letting me speak on this very important forum with some very high-profile speakers. I think that the topic that you've brought about right now and you've talked about is extremely important. Really, the militarization of Pakistan, and we are going back towards that without really having army rule, which basically it tells us what kind of a sham democracy we are living in, unfortunately, and how politicians have let the army come out with these kind of demands that there should be civilians tried under the Army Act, under the Official Secrets Act. We are being told that they are now going to be tried under Army Act 1952. What we have seen in the past, when the civilians did pass a law through the parliament, allowing military courts to be established across Pakistan, what really happened? If you look at the terrorists that they were meant to try, let's say the military courts were an answer to the army public school carnage that we saw. When the perpetrators of that attack were released by General Faiz under Imran Khan's government, the family members of the children who had been killed in the army public attack protested, and they said, how come that you are releasing these hardened criminals without giving them a trial? We didn't even ask for the military courts. We had asked for regular courts to try them. But you were the ones who brought in this law and you established military courts. But now you are releasing these terrorists. If you look at, just say, as they say that, there are some big incidents that have given Pakistan a bad name all over the world. One of them happens to be the Mumbai attacks. Where are those accused in the Mumbai attacks? Where are the trials being held? They are being held in an anti-terror court since 2009. It's now 2023. 4 prosecutors have been changed. One was killed, the other one got a sudden heart attack, the third one was changed. Now we are on the 4th prosecutor.
I think we have lost Munize. Munize, if you could turn on your speaker, it seems that you have turned off your speaker, if you can hear me.
Hello.
Munize, are you there with us?
Yes, I'm there. I'm not so sure when we got cut off, but what I was trying to make the point that the terrorists, the hardened terrorists for which the military courts were created, were never tried in the military courts. They were released under some underhand agreement, which was not transparent. It never came to the fore, and as a result, the families of those children who were killed brutally in the army attack protested and said, where are the perpetrators of this attack? Similarly, in the Mumbai attack case, the case has been going on since 2009. It's now 2023. 3 prosecutors have been changed. The witnesses that were meant to be brought have not been brought to court, and the case drags on. So who is being tried in the military courts? Is it Baloch dissidents? Is it people who dissent with the military? Yes. But also, even if there are criminals, even if there are terrorists, there has to be a process which is transparent, where the concept of a fair trial is followed. I mean, if you look at our own courts, the criminal justice system, that needs to be improved. There can be no shortcut to that. The answer is not military courts, because when these cases came to Justice Vakar Seth's court, he said most of the convictions were done on confessions. Almost 93% of the convictions, the death sentences, were done on confession, which is not allowed in the regular jurisprudence. You have to bring in evidence. You have to try the person. You have to give them. Can you hear me?
Yes. I would also request other participants if they can please turn off their speaker. Sorry, Munize.
Yeah, no problem. We are used to it. They have to be given a fair trial, which they were not given. In certain cases, they were not even told what they were being charged for. They were not allowed their own lawyers. The magistrates or the judge was not a proper judge. They were from the military. So at the end of the day, the families will be told, please come and collect your bodies. Your loved one has been hung. What has he done? They were not even given they were not even given that explanation. So the military courts are a scandal, and it's one of the gravest miscarriages of justice. And even the international courts of justice, denounced it, and they said it's in violation of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, which Pakistan has ratified. Even the Amnesty International said that it is alarming to know that the Pakistan Army has, said that they will be trying civilians under military courts. So what the question I'm asking is that, let's say the military courts, even to those who say that the military courts are the places where these terrorists should be tried, what did you do about the terrorists that you plan to try in military courts? You released them. Some of them were put into the anti-terrorist thing. So the thing is, are you after justice or are you after revenge? And that is a question that we have to ask. And we have to also look at what the International Commission of Jurists is saying, because they have said, and they've released a report which basically talks about military injustice in Pakistan. And it is said that it is a glaring surrender of human rights and fundamental freedoms. It talks about the denial of the right to counsel of choice, the failure to give convicts copies of a judgment recording evidence and reasons. There are no rapporteurs to publicly record these proceedings, let alone public hearings. There are none at all. And even the charges against the accused have not been disclosed. So there needs to be an outcry against bringing back military courts for civilians. And the state should not be seen as an angry state that is vengeful, that is seeking revenge, but the state should demand justice. We also think that the protesters should not have entered into anybody's home, let alone, military installations. They should not have entered into any. We denounce violence as rights activists. But at the same time, the state cannot resort to extrajudicial killings, to disappearances, today, just this morning, we are being told that several journalists have been picked up across Punjab. And I can confirm to you that a few have been picked up in Lahore. We are now getting the details. But this is no way to react. And the state must react very responsibly. And there must be rule of law. There cannot be a law of the jungle. And it cannot be, that bade Chaudhary साहब नाराज हो गए तो उन्होंने गुस्सा चढ़ गया तो जन्नू मारेंगे तो मारेंगे. So this can't be allowed, and there needs to be sanity. And the political parties must put their heads together and think of a way out of this crisis, rather than exasperating the current situation and driving civil society into a corner where they will have to speak against the current government, saying that they are also violating basic fundamental rights. I think that this government came in with the consciousness, with at least the intention not to violate fundamental human rights of people. And we must hold them to it.
Right. I would probably want to come back to that, but just very quickly, if you could briefly comment on the fact that, do you really think that Imran Khan has a fundamental contradiction with military establishment, something, the way he sees his struggle as something that, I'm trying to establish rule of law, but whatever has happened in the past few weeks, we have seen that the civilian space gets more and more invaded because of what has happened. So do you see any fundamental contradiction between Imran Khan and military establishment, the way he is waging his struggle?
Look, I'm not so sure what you're asking me, but I feel that there is a contradiction between any political leader that is elected in Pakistan and how the military wants him to behave or him to follow their diktat. It's not going to happen. Whether it was hybrid or whether it was not hybrid, once you elect politicians and they come into power, it is only natural that they will want to have their own space. Imran Khan fancies himself as a popular politician, and of course, he will also flex his muscle, like everybody else did in the past, including Benazir Bhutto and Nawaz Sharif. The question really is, will the army allow the politicians to govern Pakistan? Or will they continue to dictate to the politicians? And will we continue to be governed by the shadows of the military? If we continue to be governed by by military in the shadows, then I do not think that neither the politicians nor the people of Pakistan have a fair chance of democracy.
Right. Thank you very much, Munize. We'll probably come back to you with few more questions when the floor is open for question answer session. I would now move to our second speaker, who is Bilal Zahoor. Bilal is the founder and editorial director of a Lahore-based publishing house, Folio Books. He's also a visiting faculty member at Beacon House National University. Bilal, I don't have any specific question for you, but I would really want you to, probably give us a context that, in Western media and some of the, academic circles in the West, they portray Imran Khan as some sort of anti-imperialist leader from the third world country. So what are your thoughts on this? That, when Imran Khan came up with this theory about how he was, displaced from his government through a US intervention, it got a bit of traction in the public space as well. So what are your thoughts on, the way Imran Khan is being portrayed as some sort of anti-imperialist leader from the third world country?
Okay. Thank you, Zagam. I hope you can hear me. I am in the middle of my class and some of my students are sitting here. So you have a great audience, apparently. I completely understand. I hear what you say. And I've also seen some of the important progressive figures in the global north portraying Imran Khan as a character of resistance. And they did the same a few months ago when Imran Khan portrayed his animosity with the against his exclusion as a case of a struggle against imperialism. So see, very basic fundamental points to bring about can be, for a certain revolution to take place, for a certain resistance to take place, for a certain people's struggle to take place, there has to be a political ideology working against the system, going against the grain, right? So that's one. And two, there has to be an alternative proposal. There has to be a replacement of the status quo. There has to be a proposal replacing the existing coordinates of the system. In Imran Khan's case, it's none of the two. Neither his struggle is against the status quo, against the system, and nor he has any kind of a proposal to offer replacing the existing system. And this is what's common with most egotistical populists or proto-fascists around the world, that they always bring to light, they always bring to center the agent, not the system. To them, it's never the system that's causing mayhem. It's never the larger forces at play that are producing miseries after miseries for the vast swathes of people. It's only the intruder who is polluting the system. It's only the agent that's polluting the system. Imran Khan is a classic case of this kind of populism. We remember in his early days in office, it was the Sharifs and Zardaris which were the enemies, and Pakistan could have reached the pinnacles of prosperity by removing those polluting entities from the system, the Sharifs and Zardaris. a few months later, it was the US that became the enemy. It was the US that basically excluded, subtracted Imran Khan from the system. And then we saw Bajwa as the real enemy, the Bajwa vilification that took place subsequently. And now we're seeing Asim Munir as the enemy. So you see, it's a case of a shifting enemy figure. It's a case of a shifting enemy figure, not the case of the system as an enemy. Only the agents or certain kind of representatives of the system are portrayed as enemies. And I would rather go to the extent of saying that it's neither the Sharifs or Zardaris, nor the Bajwas or Asim Munirs that are the enemies. It is the one that's constructed by Imran Khan as enemy. So anyone that's constructed as an enemy by Imran Khan is doomed an enemy. He has now placed himself at a pedestal. He has posed himself as a position where he has the power to call black as white and white as black. And he has really placed himself at such a position. It's important that progressives around the world are not misled by these kind of gimmicks, because while the enemy figures keep shifting in Imran Khan's case, what remains constant is a flight from the real enemy. And the real enemy is the system and structures of oppression and injustice. He has been siding with the systems of oppression during his office for 3.5 years. He has been sitting right next to the military. He placed the military officials, the retired or the otherwise, on the top of the hierarchy of some of the most important state enterprises and institutions. He has been sitting next to the military when military was carrying out injustices and operations in Balochistan, ex-Fatah, against journalists and political activists in not just the peripheries, but also the urban centers, Lahore, Karachi, Islamabad. So what is this change of heart now? What is this change of approach now? Is there a new ideology at play now? Clearly not. It's just a classic case of a shifting enemy figure. And that is common to most populists in many parts of the world. But I would quickly come back to the point that Imran Khan has placed himself on a pedestal where he's become extremely powerful. And I must also say that in the here and now, in the current politics, in the contemporary political situation, Imran Khan is a greater contradiction than the Pakistan military, because he posed himself as a godlike figure who only speaks in the binary language of musts and must nots. This reminds me of the French theorist, philosopher René Descartes, who basically considered man as the ontological center of the world. And by man, he meant the Western man. And it went to the point, his theorizing and his Cartesian philosophy went to the point where the truth is what the Western man deems to be true. That, I think, is a kind of relevance that I established with Imran Khan. So Imran Khan is the René Descartes of Pakistan, not in the logical, rationalist context, but in the context of placing himself as a godlike figure, as a king of the sun, as an egotistical populist who only speaks a Cartesian binary language of musts and must nots. So that's extremely dangerous for the future of democracy in Pakistan. Also, quickly come to the PD in Pakistan. We must not forget that it is the failure, it is the sustained failure of the centrist run-of-the-mill politics of these PDM parties that brought Imran Khan to power. So it is what has been happening basically in the years preceding Imran Khan coming to the office. It's probably the same that's been happening in the US before Trump came to office, or it's probably the same that's been happening in India before Modi came to office. So what really has been happening in those years preceding the ascent, preceding populists' ascent to power, it's the failure of the liberal centrist politics, their failure to rescue, to salvage the ordinary folk, their failure to deliver to the masses, their failure to offer welfare, to offer jobs, to offer employment, to offer quality education to the vast swathes of people that brought these populists to power. So there have been a period preceding these populists coming to power. That period has been a period of the large-scale production of anxieties, grievances, disappointments with the centrist liberal politics. Those genuine and those anxieties and disappointments are genuine. So when I see a PTI folk setting stuff ablaze or speaking frantically on camera, I don't quite see a violent outcast. I rather see genuine anxieties gone astray. So it's a classic case of populists exploiting anxieties and grievances and disappointments, and sort of exploiting these grievances and bringing them into the realm of a populist politics where unfortunately the ordinary folk is blinded so much that it is not able to see the contradictions lying in the character and politics of Imran Khan. So while we continuously critique Imran Khan's politics and we openly deny any kind of a revolutionary or anti-imperialist character, we also openly bring to question the centrist liberal politics of other parties and their continuous failure. So unfortunately, the future of democracy in Pakistan looks quite bleak because in the current situation, Imran Khan is portraying himself as the anti-establishment figure, and the PDM, the other parties, are very happily sitting next to the military, very happily being the puppet. So it's quite an Olympics between puppets in Pakistan. It's not a case of a hybrid democracy, but really an Olympics between various kinds of puppets. And it's unfortunate that while the Imran Khan politics continues to be dangerous, the PDM politics has nothing to offer to the vast number of people in Pakistan. I think it's time. It may take several years or even decades in Pakistan's case, but it's time that the real alternative forces, the left forces, keep mobilizing and organizing themselves, because it is only the ideological assemblages of left politics that can keep such proto-fascists at bay in future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bilal. And as you mentioned about Imran Khan, robbing away all this space, I also miss those simpler times between 2018 and 20, where you would have a fair idea on which side of the line you have to stand in order to be a Democrat. But now everything has, just muddled up, and things have become like very, very difficult for us to understand as well. And I would also like to come back to the excellent point that you made about Imran Khan being the Rene Descartes of Pakistan. I think one of our friends aptly remarked a few days ago that Imran Khan is emerging as this moral sovereign in the country, who has robbed all those bigger ideas from the state and is now projecting himself as someone above the state. So probably we'll come back to that discussion in our question answer session. But I would now like to request Farooq Tariq ji. Farooq Tariq is a long-time social activist in Pakistan. He's the president of the left-wing Haquq-e Khalq party, which has, by the way, been doing excellent work in the last couple of years in bringing and joining the progressive forces together in Pakistan. Farooq Saab is also the General Secretary of Pakistan Kisan Rabta Committee. Farooq ji, I don't have any specific question to you, but I would really like you to generally contextualize this debate and tell us, where are we going from here? We, as a progressive and Democrats, as Bilal mentioned and Munize mentioned, that the civilian space is being continuously invaded by the military establishment in Pakistan.
Thank you, and I thank you, Munize and Bilal, for really discussing some of the aspects which are not known to our friends internationally and also in Pakistan. But I would just say that Pakistan at present is collapsing. Pakistan economic, social, and political crisis is at its peak. Pakistan is near default. Pakistan present government is still paying the debt, which is around $4 billion in next month, and the total foreign reserve of Pakistan is $4.5 billion. So that sort of situation we have entered at present time, where political and economical crisis has led to very worst type of social crisis. And we see that people are confused. People see what to do, what to say, to whom they should believe. So the present government is dictating and implementing the conditions of IMF like no one else can do. They are trying their best to gain $1.6 billion loan from IMF, but they are ready to pay $4 billion in repayment of the debt. So that sort of contradiction is here in Pakistan, and the result is that there is an extreme price hike, not of one or two things. Almost every aspect of life is more expensive at this time than any other time in the history of Pakistan. In the shortest period, price index has gone up over 40% in this month. And we can see that the wages has not been increased. People are still earning the same, but they are paying like 4 or 5 times more for everyday consumption they have to use for their families and so on. So it's the most hard time for the working class of Pakistan. It's the most difficult time for working class of Pakistan, coupled with the Corona period and also the climate disaster. It has brought together this implementation of IMF and new liberal agenda to an extent that they don't see any sort of way out than going to these conditionalities. Now, last few days after Imran Khan's arrest, over 4,000 activists have been arrested on the name of burning of Corps Commander's home and GHQ and several other military installations around the country. We always opposed individual terrorism. We always opposed such acts which are always used by the state to go to a new extreme to curb the basic human rights, freedom of expression, and to create and implement new laws which can curb more people's freedom because of these incidents. Unfortunately, the PTI activists have done that, and now government say they are all terrorists, which is nonsense to call all these people terrorists who have been going to demonstration, and they might be happening to be at a place where the burning is going on, and they are now tried by the military court, unprecedented in the history of Pakistan, that civilians of such level, 4,000 civilians will be tried by the military courts. We totally oppose the use of military court in these trials, and we say if there are such people who are involved, bring them to civilian courts and let the courts decide how it goes and so on. We know that the judiciary is also at its worst time. There's a greater sort of greater campism. So there's a Imran Khan camp, there is a PDM camp among the top judiciary. So you know when a judge is hearing a case, you know what the result would come out, what the decision would be taken, because the judges are also like polarized among these politicians, and they're trying to please them at their best at present time. So we have not much confidence in the civilian courts, but you can see the 2 minutes decision by the military courts, which has been carried out in the past when Ziaul Haq was in power. People's Party activists were convicted in 2 minutes, in 3 minutes. That's all the time they could get from a military court. And such atmosphere is also now been brought up, that people should only see that military is the solution. There's no other solution. And we also blame Imran Khan to bring this to this extent, because Imran Khan had power in Punjab, had power in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, he has power in Kashmir, he had power in Gilgit-Baltistan. The present president is from his party. He was only removed by a vote of no confidence in last April. So he was not prime minister, but all other main powers of Pakistan, over 80% of Pakistan, was ruled by his party. And then he dissolved the assemblies. I don't understand. It's a real stupidity, a real adventurism on the part of Imran Khan to resolution on the mishope that there will be election in 3 months and he will become a prime minister again. He always wanted to be at the top. So that's what he can't afford, that he's not prime minister at present. So he can go to any length to sacrifice his party. His party is really on the last leg. It was built by party. It has been dismantled by, it was built by army. It is dismantled by army. So we have seen that such political hypes have been created in Indian subcontinent in the past. And once the interest is lost, they will just left them. And that's how Imran Khan is behaving at present time. We are here to present the case of the working class of Pakistan. We're not here really to see just the interfight of the ruling classes. We, the working class, always lose when the ruling classes are fighting among each other. We are not spectator, and we are not happy that the ruling class is fighting with each other, because in this fight, they never forget to implement privatization. They never forget to implement price hike, to raise taxes on ordinary people, to repay the foreign debt to the international monopolies, IMF and World Bank and so on. So they do their dirty job all the time. And they want us to be listening to their excuses that Pakistan now will bring. Now, Pakistan is near where Sri Lanka was before the collapse. We hope that it doesn't go to that way. We are building a workers and ordinary people's movement in Pakistan. We have held mass meetings in Lahore and in Faisalabad. Fortunately or unfortunately, media doesn't cover us. They think we are just on the sidelines. They always say what Imran Khan is doing. Has he opened the door? Has he come out in the car? Has he been picked up? Has he not been picked up? It's all the time bullshit they are covering on the mainstream media. Mainstream media has also totally collapsed in Pakistan in their content, in their sort of presentation. And we are only left to social media, which we don't have much the base. But despite these difficult times, as Asia-Europe People's Forum, as South Asia Alliance for Poverty Eradication, as Joint Action Committee for People's Rights, as Haquq-e-Khalq Party, as Khalq Student Movement, as our Aurat March friends. So we are building, and also the climate justice movement of Pakistan. We are trying to build an alternative. And I will just end on this, that the government has not paid a single penny to the effects of climate disaster in Sindh. They're still waiting. They're still outside in the camps. Loss and damages. I was one of those who demonstrated daily at Sharm el Sheikh to bring up the idea of loss and damage and reparation. But this was not to give more money to Shahbaz Sharif so he could repay the loans to IMF and World Bank. We want that money which has been sent to Pakistan to be spent on the people who have suffered during this climate disaster. That is our main campaign in Sindh for the landless peasantry and those who are outside in the streets. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Farooq ji, especially for bringing the point of worsening economic situation in the country. We have seen how inflation has skyrocketed in recent times, and the kind of impact. And I'm sure that you are the best person to speak for it because of Haquq-e-Khalq Party's work in the working areas in Lahore, and we also see this like on daily basis how from mainstream media to from mainstream television and electronic media, there's absolutely no debate on what actually affects people in reality. And this conversation, I think, needs to be taken more and more on forums like these. So we are way past our designated time for the speakers. I will now quickly open the floor for questions. If anyone wants to contribute or ask a question from one of our speakers, please raise your hand and we'll give the floor to you.
Muhammad Irfan has raised his hand.
Ji, please, Muhammad Irfan.
Ji, thank you, Zagam, and thank you all the presenters for presenting on the current political situation. And I am basically curious to know that no one is basically discussing the cause of this political crisis, because generally in media also we are thinking, listening that type of topics and discussion, that this political crisis in country having a polarization. But what are the reasons for this polarization? Is the reasons are in economics, and what type of international economic geopolitical camping is basically exaggerating this polarization in the political crisis? And I think if you should highlight those points as well, that is interesting to know the dynamics of the international politics and international economic politics.
Thank you. Thank you, Irfan. We'd like to take a couple of more questions and then we'll throw it to our speakers. Chandanji, please, if you have any question to ask.
Yes. Hi, Zagum. I hope I am pronouncing your name correctly. My name is Chandan and I'm based in Mumbai. I work with the working class movement, labor rights movement spaces. I don't know. I mean, it's so enlightening to hear all of you, and I express my deepest solidarity to my all Pakistani brothers and sisters, our neighbors. I mean, there's a whole, kind of appetite for reclaiming our democratic space across South Asia, including in India. If I say in Urdu, idhar kuan hai, udhar khai hai. And that's a space we are in right now that we don't know. We are also looking for a different political alternative and what to do. We are also facing fascism. We are also facing, fundamentalism. Our democracy is also under threat at this moment. And when I see this situation in our neighbors, we don't know. I mean, when Imran Khan came, we thought, oh, there will be some kind of new beginning. Now we are seeing as a different situation. And we know that the Nawaz Sharif government and the whole history, the whole corruption, etc. Same situation that I don't know how to respond in that, but instead of saying and on expressing my solidarity to all of you, we just want to understand how can we express our solidarity to this current crisis. I don't know in what manner. Maybe you people can enlighten us, give us some ideas, and and as a good neighbor, what we can do, if you can tell us more about that. And Farooq Saab has been talking, intensively about debt questions and the way IMF is choking Pakistan's economy and so on. Now we have a big moment in India's presidency in the G20. There will be the whole set of people from IMF, World Bank, all the big economies. We do have some opportunities. I don't know what we can do, but we'll be happy to contribute in whatever manner on that. So sorry for taking a long time, but we just wanted to express our feeling and deepest solidarity, Zekumji. Thank you.
No, Chandan, it's always wonderful to hear from the comrades across the border because we know the battles you have been waging in your own capacity with an increasingly right-wing government. We've also been hearing updates from how progressive and democratic forces are being dealt in India. So I think our challenges are pretty much similar. Before taking the next question, if any of our speakers, Farooqji or Bilal, wants to add or respond to the two comments or questions that have been asked. Bilal, if you would like to.
Okay, thank you. I think Irfan asked this question, that what has brought us to where we are today. I think part of it was probably addressed during the brief comment that I made earlier. So, of course, it's a combination of factors, lots of things that brought us to this verge of collapse. But apparently, one major contribution has been from the economic situation, of course. So we need to understand that what has been happening during the years preceding Imran Khan coming to power. And for instance, the periods between 2008 and 2018, the decade of kind of stable democracy, during which there has been apparently no martial law, because the political parties in Pakistan, the mainstream political parties in Pakistan, have failed miserably to rescue the ordinary people from the impending crises. There is a prevalence of miseries and disappointments and grievances, and people are all the time looking for a messiah to help them reach the other part of the ocean, to salvage them from the looming crisis. Imran Khan appeared to be that very messiah. Modi appeared to be that very messiah in India. Trump appeared to be a similar figure in the US, Erdogan in Turkey, Duterte in Philippines, Bolsonaro in Brazil, the list goes on. So all these right-wing populists, which I call proto-fascists, have this ability to exploit grievances and anxieties and passage them into political agencies. So there are large number of disgruntled, disappointed people, and they can easily be manipulated into the populist calculus. To Chandan, I would quickly say, I mean, we would love to see a lot happening within the South Asian ambit, but thank you for the solidarity, because I primarily work around the question of philosophy and ecology. I would love to see a certain kind of climate alliance, an assemblage of climate resistance taking place across South Asia. Maybe something that we can speak about and think about later. Thank you.
Thanks, Bilal. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Bilal. Before we take one last question, because I think the time is also approaching, if Munize is still here, Munize, if
yes,
you want
to
add some final thoughts on the conversation or previously the two questions that have been asked, please go ahead.
Well, firstly, I agree with both the speakers who have been speaking before, especially Farooq Tariq Saab, that the political class has largely failed to address the problems of the people. But at the same time, I do believe that it has been very difficult. Working in mainstream media, one of the things that you get to do is you really look at the politicians very closely and you get to cover the parliament. It has been extremely difficult for the political class to govern Pakistan simply because they have been engaged by the military in trying to survive. whenever they are in government. So most of that physical time is gone in trying to put down conspiracies against them. And I think that is the biggest challenge to any political government that comes into power. The real opposition has never been the opposition parties in parliament, but it has been the opposition in the GHQ. And I think that is the real challenge that politicians face today. Nonetheless, there was an opportunity here when Mr. Imran Khan made the fatal mistake of pitching his party workers against the military. There was an opportunity to sit down with the military and also talk about the grievances that people have, the deep grievances that people do have, not just now, very recently in Punjab, but in Balochistan, in Sindh, in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, where bodies of leaders have been sent, Akbar Bukti, Benazir Bhutto, so many others that we don't even talk about. The missing persons, there isn't a province in Pakistan where there is not a missing person. So this was what we saw on the 9th of May was also a manifestation of that deep resentment against the powerful military elite, which is now seen as one of the richest militaries that a poor country is, bringing forward. So there is that question. But at the same time, I do believe that there is an opportunity with politicians in South Asia, especially. It is one of the least integrated region in the world. And I was recently, I traveled with Bilawal Bhutto Zardari to Goa to cover the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, the conference. And now countries are moving in blocks. Regions are moving together because we have pandemics, and if if a country has to progress, then really the economic bloc has to progress. Now, either Pakistan can be left behind in that recent movement towards connecting the region, or they can go along. But Pakistan and India will really have to sort out their own mess. Otherwise, they will not only keep themselves behind, but also keep the rest of South Asia behind. And I think that is the big challenge for the two countries. They will have to be more mature in the way that they deal with bilateral relations, because China and Russia certainly are not going to be held back because of skirmishes between India and Pakistan. And India has shown that kind of maturity with China, where they've had this ongoing skirmish in Ladakh for 4 years. And yet in the last 2 months, 3 months, they had two bilaterals with, the foreign ministers had two bilaterals. So the question really is, why wasn't there a bilateral between India and Pakistan? So, India and Pakistan will have to give their people the opportunity. I mean, there is a lot of smuggling between the border, but why not trade? It's also because the smuggling benefits the ruling elite. So I do think that if politicians are given a chance, an opportunity to really govern Pakistan, I think then we will be able to say that democracy has had a shot in Pakistan. But at this time, I do not think that in my lifetime I have ever seen democracy having a real shot at governing this country.
Thank you very much, Munizeb. I think that was very insightful, especially the point about Imran Khan throwing his party workers at the mercy of military establishment and not taking the issue of the missing persons in Balochistan and other provinces seriously, even while he was the prime minister from 2018 to 22. Thank you very much for joining our webinar. I know that you had to leave early, but you stayed to answer the questions from the participants as well. So
it was my pleasure.
Thank you very much for that. We'll already a bit past over time, but there is one participant who had been raising hand. So if we could quickly take the question from Naseem Ahmed Saab. So this will be the last question that we'll do in the webinar. Ji, Naseem Saab.
Yes, thank you very much, Zagam, and thank you very much for Farooq Tariq Sahib, so inviting me. I'm a Swedish politician. I left Pakistan 51 years ago when East and West Pakistan was one, when there was one Pakistan. And now we are not hitting exact what is happening with Pakistan, Bangladesh, and India. We are, and why we are talking about the Western politics and all this. There is one difference, and we don't, even all the participants sitting here, they don't have the courage, most of them don't have the courage to say that in these three countries, what happened, that the religion and politics was mixed. We are working, we are given our hand to these extremists, to the religious people. What is happening in these Western countries, they have religion and politics, two separate things. They are working, they are doing. Let's see the example of Bangladesh. They are working, they are progressing from the last 20 years. They are working against this, Islamization and all these things. They have the religion and politics too different. India and Pakistan, we are working, what we are doing, we are demolishing the mosques. We are demolishing, we have freedom of religion, so has been stopped. Nobody's, as the Qaeda-e-Azam said, as the Gandhi there said, you are free to go to your worship places. We don't have the courage on the Pakistani media that these days, under 2023, 15 mosques were demolished of a community. Nobody said a single word. Even Bilal sitting here, he's talking about Imran has don't the vision. Yes, very right. I agree with him, but we have the vision of Qaeda-e-Azam. You are free, freedom of expression, freedom of religion should be given. If we work on this, economy, everything, if people will have the safety in the country, they will come back, they will work for the country. We are not doing that. We are talking about all these politicians, democracy. Everybody knows, who is Nawaz Sharif, who is Zardari, who is Bilawal, who is Imran. We know, but we are not talking about the basic thing about Pakistan and India, what in these two countries, religion has taken the power, and we are behind that. Everybody is quiet. Nobody can speak. I challenge you, Bilal Zagam here, that in the last 4 months, 15 mosques of a community was demolished. They cannot have. I have worked in Swedish Immigration Board for more than 16 years. What the Bosnians had the problem, they could not have the Islamic name. And now in Pakistan, and a community is not allowed to have a Muslim name. He 77 years old, and Ahmadi was beaten up in the court, and he was not given the chance. And now 2 days ago, in the court again, a non-Ahmadi advocate was not given the chance to defend him. He was beaten up.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You got the point. I just like to say, maybe Bilal can say a few words as well, that we are in favor of separation of religion from the state. That's our principal political position of our party and of our movement. And when we were building the movement of the peasantry in Okada, we were bringing together all the religion and unitedly fighting against the military farms management. So we know the importance of the unity and fraternity among the religious people in Pakistan, and we are, whatever we could, we are defending the attack. We are defending those communities who are under attack in Pakistan. Whatever.
I have been working with you, Tariq Saab. I have been working with you from 70s. You have been to Sweden. You have been in the parliament. You have your parliamentarian friends. You know this. And they have requested you also, and many others. Religion and politics.
Okay, thank you, Naseem Saab.
No, thank you. I think you said well. Yeah. No, thank you. I just need to resume my class. Thank you.
All right. So thank you very much, Bilal as well, Farooq ji, and Munize as well. Munize, special thanks to Munize because she had to leave early, but she waited a bit to answer the questions from our participants as well. Just a small announcement at the end that the recording of this webinar will be available in due course of time after our comms team has prepared the recording. So we'll share that with you, and those of you
website, the AEPF website.
Yes, on the AEPF website. So we hope to have such sessions again and again. Thank you, Asia Europe People's Forum, for facilitating this webinar. Special thanks to Bilal for disrupting his class and coming to the webinar to share his thoughts. And thank you, Farooq ji, for arranging and making the arrangements for the seminar possible. So see you soon.